Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. And what do we have this morning for this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge? Dun 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 dun. 31 a.m. Central Standard Time. 75 South. There's a new label if you go to Albertsons, Vons, Jewel, Osco, SuperValue, Safeway. You can see the snazzy new 75 South label. Now this label's not bad, but the new one is mighty nice. I'm not gonna. Now this is not at the quality level where you want to go buy another one. All right, I got it for $5.99. Fine, done. The new, it has gone up in price, $6.49 now. It's going up 50 cents, but it's fine. I don't collect liquor bottles and cans anyway, so I'm not going to keep it. But there is a nice new label. Okay, I think this basically over the years replaced Albertsons American blended whiskey, which would not be applicable to all the stores that are now part of the chain. You see, it's not just the Albertsons grocery store chain, it's a whole bunch of them. But with 75 South, they can sell it across the stores with no problem. Kind of like they went from Albertsons brandy to D.W. Anders brandy. They went from Albertsons Canadian whiskey to, I don't know. I'm going to have to pay attention to that because I don't recall any replacement Canadian whiskey, but there's got to be one, some store brand thing, like Walmart has Caliber. So I got to check on that. Okay, so it's 80-20 blend, or do they give the blend ratio? They don't on the competitor. Let's see. Blended whiskey, 75 South. Interstate 75 runs through Kentucky. Is that what that's referring to? Interstate 75 southbound? Could be. This blended whiskey was created from the finest ingredients. Our traditional process of compounding superior flavors is the pride of the South, capital S, the South, and promises to deliver a robust taste, sorry, it's hard to read it, and an exceptional experience. It's so small, it's so tiny, it's written in cursive, but that's not the problem, that it's tiny. The Founders Company, Louisville, Kentucky. Anytime you see the Founders Company, you may as well say Sazerac, because that's what it is. It's an assumed name. Louisville, famous for bourbon whiskey. Louisville, right? You know it. Evan Williams. Early times, 75 South, and so on. Old Forester, and so on. All right. I'm not going to need tags. Forget that, because this next product is so unusual and strange that you would never confuse it with anything else. Clubhouse, product of the USA, blended whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color. Bottled by Kentucky Standard Distillers, Bardstown, Kentucky. Yeah, that's Heaven Hill. That's one of their assumed names. Clubhouse, seen at no clubhouses in America. Well, anyway, you say, where would you see such a product? At Savannah Discount, for instance, I bought this 1,000 milliliter bottle for $6.99, and this 750 milliliter bottle was $5.99. Now $6.49. Where would you see this? It's making its way into Louisiana. We're getting more and more clubhouse. For whatever reason. Well, on the west bank of the Mississippi River. Strange because, all right, Kentucky's on the east bank, yet a lot of their products are showing up only on the west bank. If that makes any sense. You say, but there is one little part of Kentucky that's on the west bank of the Mississippi River. That's right, there is. There is a little area of Kentucky that is on the opposite side of the river because the river changed course years ago and it got stuck out there. And you have to go to Missouri to get to that part of Kentucky. That's right. Or do you have to go to Tennessee? I can't remember. It was in that corner. And there's a little part of Illinois that's west. That's also west of the Mississippi River. Yeah, I've been there. I visited that. You have to go to Missouri to get to it. And there's a bridge. You cross the old river because the river changed course. There's an old piece of the river. It's just a lake now. And it's in Illinois, but it's west of the Mississippi River. It's an isolated town because there's only one bridge to get into the town. It's surrounded by water. Isn't that strange? There's a lot of peculiar geographical features in America and other countries, of course. All right. And I study the Mississippi River because I live less than a mile from it, about 2/3 of a mile, something like that. And that's why sometimes in my videos you'll hear river boats boo, 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 honking their horns. You hear chains clanking and things like that. Life on the Mississippi River. One time I took a raft from Missouri all the way to New Orleans, and this guy Jim was with me. But I told him, I said, "You got to go back home. You know, you shouldn't have left like you did." And he did go home. It was a lot of adventures, though. All right. Anyway, didn't pour enough. Yeah. I didn't pour enough of the 75 South. I have been on Interstate 75. It's like a parkway. It's wide, has 2 lanes going north, 2 lanes going south. Grass all around, mowed. Got informational signs every now and then. You can exit it, get back on. All right. Have state troopers waiting for you to make a mistake. So collect some revenue. Okay. Now I poured too much 75 South, so I got to pour more of the other one. I think it's close enough. Color is the same. Amber, copper, no copper. This is more amber. So the clubhouse is a little darker, which makes sense because they say on the bottle label with caramel color. At least they're admitting it. You know, they're saying caramel color. Now Foster's Premium Ale from Miller Coors, Molson Coors, they're saying caramel color. For a while they weren't saying that on the can, so I thought maybe they had gone to roasted malts. Toasted malts. But they said no, it's caramel color added, which is interesting because on beer you're not required to list that. You're not required to list it on blended whiskey. You can add caramel color to blended whiskey. You don't have to give a disclosure on that. That's optional. So Heaven Hill is being kind enough to tell us they're adding color. And they're being nice enough to tell us they're adding natural flavors, which are exotic and strange and exciting and new. Okay, I'll mix them up just for the heck of it. It's not going to matter. Believe me, this is a blind taste test where blind won't matter. All right? Once you get used to this thing, blind, double blind, it doesn't matter. You can't mix it up with anything else. You can't. Yeah, talking about caramel color in beer, there was a big hoopla, a big hullabaloo about Newcastle, where this internet lady who didn't bother using footnotes or really making a scientific case was talking about caramel color is going to cause cancer, and Newcastle Brown Ale has caramel color in it. Heineken, the owners of Newcastle, got so intimidated that Caledonian Brewery. I'm sorry, that's the one in Scotland. The Newcastle, which they no longer have. I don't think they use it anymore. They took the caramel color out and went to natural toasting of the malts. That might be better anyway, but this whole thing that's going to cause cancer, everybody in America would be dead or dying with cancer if caramel color caused cancer. You see what I'm saying? It's the most common food color, and so it's so ridiculous. It's like saying the world's going to end in 12 years if the government doesn't have more socialism. No, it probably will end in 12 years if they have more socialism. They got it backwards. You see what I'm saying? Ha, 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 ha. Don't impeach my integrity. Now, well, oh yeah, what I was going to say is, you ever notice some beers, you try a beer brand. It's dark. You say, boy, it's really dark. Brown, dark beer. But when you taste it, you say, golly, it doesn't really taste any different than a regular lager beer. Makes you wonder, huh? You know what I'm saying? I could name some brands, but you'd get angry. People have in the past. And they told me they do not use food coloring. I said, you have some, I said, well, how do you know they don't? What's a known fact? I said, you got some verification on that? You got some source material? Nothing, no response. And I never said that I knew they were adding food coloring to the beer. I said it seemed to be the case. But anyway, it doesn't matter to me either way. This smells like regular old whiskey. You know what I mean? Like common. Just stereotypical. Actually, that fits the guidelines of the US government, which is what? It must have the aroma and flavor generally associated with whiskey. This has the aroma that you generally associate with whiskey, which is what? Kind of that sourdough. I think it might be sour mash straight bourbon in it. And corn, a lot of corn, because this is almost 100% corn, what I'm drinking here. It's probably 80. I don't know the blend ratio, not listed. Probably 80% grain spirits, 20% straight whiskey. And what straight whiskey would it be? Well, if it's coming from Sazerac, you could almost guarantee it's ancient age, because that's their inexpensive straight bourbon. All right, you can buy bottles of ancient age for $9.99, and that is not a lie. And that's a sour mash straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey. I mean, that would be easy to do. And then you just blend it, have somebody competent, knows how to blend. You gotta have a master blender, somebody knows what they're doing. And send it over to Louisville bottling plant, bottle it up. No problem. No problem, man. They told me that they buy their grain spirits from MGP anyway, Midwest Grain Products. That's across the river, Ohio River. Here's Buffalo Trace south of the river. You meet midway in Louisville. Here comes the grain spirits. Here comes the bourbon. You blend it. You bottle it. Simple. All right. Does it smell bad or off or weird? Like some of those Heaven Hill, you know, I'm about to do Heaven Hill. Some of those Heaven Hill blended whiskeys be smelling very strange. Like, why would it smell like honeydew melon? Like fruit. This doesn't have that. Yeah, just dull. I mean, it's dull. I'm not going to sit here and talk about how elaborate it is. I'm not saying, oh, boy, this stuff is really complex. No, 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 no. No, it's basic. Basic, which is why it is less than $7 a bottle, because it is very basic. Now, this thing, oh, why? I feel like I'm back in 1994. Why? You know? At first, all right, 2 weeks ago, I was just totally appalled, offended, hurt, dismayed, discombobulated, and angry. But over time, my opinion of this has changed. I went from hating it to being perplexed by it to questioning it to thinking about it, drinking on it, thinking on it, drinking on it, thinking on it, drinking on it, thinking on it. Then I started to realize, oh, it isn't bad. It's aberrant. Yeah, it's aberrant. You're never going to say it's normal. So it's an aberration. It's a monstrosity. It's like you took different body parts and you made a being and you brought it back to life with electricity and you say, well, it's going to be normal. It's not going to be normal. It's not going to be normal. Don't take a flower and then pull the petals off of it in front of that creature. Okay. When you buy a lake, don't do it. So this is an aberration. But yet, on the other hand, I've realized it doesn't smell bad. I think they're adding plum wine. And someone told me to add that to Canadian whiskey. No source material, but I believe it seems very plausible. And I think they're adding, I believe, cocktail sherry. Now, you might say, why would they go out of their way to get cocktail sherry? Well, who said they went out of their way? These big companies like Heaven Hill buy train loads of sherry for blending. I mean, they probably got enormous amounts of it in storage on hand. That's, you know, they have the timetable knowing how long it would last at its blending quality before it turned. And then if it turns and goes bad, they're going to sell it to somebody else that uses spent wine, you know what I'm saying, wine that's gone dead, for something else. They're not going to waste it. I saw a video from a liquor company. Yeah. In Canada, Windsor, Canada, they don't waste anything. All that grain that they use to make the whiskey, they got a big basement room, look like a cave, but it's a basement. And they got it all crammed together like a big piece of cake, like a brick. And they sell it to farmers and the cows eat it. True story. So they said they don't sell the barrels because they don't want people making their own whiskey. This is what the company said. We don't sell barrels to people because they're going to make their own whiskey. Once you get the barrel, all you need is the corn. You know, you could cheat corn syrup. You got it. You got it, man. So they said they sell the barrels to flooring companies. Can you believe that? Flooring companies to make planks for flooring. That is wild, right? Wild. Or they might sell it to beer companies, you know what I'm saying, for barrel aged beer and all that. But boy, the stuff you can find out by reading a company's website. If you really go off track deep into their website, a lot of times it won't say much, but you get on these corporate websites and you like kind of get away from the brands. But that's fascinating to read too. And you start looking at their operations and they'll say a lot of things that you didn't expect them to tell you about. I like how in Canada, you ever notice in Canada, they stack the barrels differently. They're vertical, one on top of the other, upright. But in America, I mean, the United States of America, sorry, Canada is in North America, they put them horizontal on a rack. Yep. Like sherry, the Solaro, but they don't dump one to the other. Well, they do in a way, because they blend them, you know. All right, so this tastes so dull. Now, yeah, there's a little sour mash. There's a little spice to it, like a rye hit. It's kind of harsh, really. But there's rye. It's definitely rye. But what do you expect? It's Sazerac. Sazerac is known, or in some people's mind, notorious for kind of maybe going a little crazy with rye or something, you know, going overboard, whatever. Doesn't bother me, but I could see where some people would find it overdone, you know. But it's rye, it's spicy. I'm gonna go eat a Reuben sandwich. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I need a kosher pickle and some potatoes, potato chips, with sea salt, of course. This is not a sipper. 75 South is not, nor will it ever be a sipper. It was not designed for that, okay? But since you paid $5.99, you probably realize that. It's designed for making mixed drinks. Like I've said this before, 75 South, you work the night shift, you get off of work at 6 a.m., the gas station is allowed to start selling liquor, so you buy a bottle and you mix it with Dr. Pepper. You know what I'm saying? Hawaiian Punch. Sprite. Seagram's ginger ale, which is owned by Coca-Cola today. That's what they're going to do. And then they're going to sit in front of the TV and watch Tom and Jerry reruns while they're trying to calm down from work and go to sleep, because it's so hard to go to sleep after a night shift. You know you're tired, you got to work the next day, but you got to sleep during the daytime. And my father used to do that. He said, you'd sleep, but you never would really sleep too well. He said that. He told me that. He said, I used to always just feel bad all the time. He had to work night shift. And then when he retired from DuPont 16 years ago, he said, wow, it's really nice to be able to sleep and not feel bad all the time. So he only had to feel bad every day for 30 years, you know what I mean? He didn't always work night shift. He worked shift work, sometimes day, sometimes night, which is even worse. Get your body even more screwed up. Yeah, well, anyway. Oh, this stuff here is just, this is a mess. You know, some people get really upset when you talk about pineapple on pizza. This is the kind of thing that people would look at it like that. Like, this is wrong, man. It's like peanut butter and catfish, fried catfish, or ketchup on ice cream. It's a bad mix. Lou Reed wrote a song about that, right? On that 1992 album, like Things That Don't Match Up. Like, you could do it. It would be creative, but it would be idiotic. And it wouldn't work, so it wouldn't be creative. It would be impractical, or, you know, it would be, like he was saying, a sign of that you didn't have intelligence. You know, creativity is things that are new and workable, not just new. Early to bed, early to rise. Ben Franklin had a point, says Joe Biden's dentures. He did. This stuff is strange. Whiskey is strange when you're a stranger. But it's not as repellent as it was. Actually, it's not even repellent now. But it only took me 2 weeks to get used to it. Now, should a whiskey take you 2 weeks to be able to tolerate? I don't think so. Is that a sign of quality? I don't think so. But then, of course, some people, they can't stand scotch, and maybe they'll come around to it, and it might be a very high-quality scotch. Okay, all right, let me retract that last statement. As you slip into unconsciousness. All right. In a way, though, in a way, I'm not going to say this definitively, but in a way, the clubhouse is in some ways better because it does have some character. I mean, it might be a bad character. You know what I'm saying? Could be bad character. You know, this whiskey's like bad medicine, but then you might say, but bad medicine is what I need. So you see what I'm saying? You buy whiskey, you don't expect it to taste like plum wine, cocktail sherry, you know, and then where's the whiskey flavor? Oh, well, it does have some grain spirits flavor like corn distillate. So it's like, no, this doesn't, but it has something. You know what I'm saying? It has something. Even though it's a rye to the hilt. But this one here, yeah, okay, it in a technical sense, it fits what blended whiskey should be. Okay, technically, it's fine. But it's very bland. What about wood? Yeah, a little barrel action after 4 years. What do you expect? They're both 4-year-old or older. But there isn't much happening here. It's not very inspired. Maybe with Clubhouse, they figured, let's prank the audience. Let's put this stuff in here and see what people do. Maybe someone will make a video about it. I did it. Watching Heaven Hill. Are you listening, Nixon? No, So I think, and this is going to be very shocking to me as well. I'm shocked that I'm saying it, but I'm going to say it. I think the Clubhouse is better if you have a spirit of adventure, okay? If you want to try something that's going to blow your mind, man, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's I would rather drink it. I wouldn't actually rather drink either one of these, but in a pinch, if I had to choose, because sometimes even when you don't choose, you still have made a choice. But I would say, okay, I'm gonna go with Heaven Hill. Heaven Hill's Clubhouse. It's strange, but it works in a perverse way. In a perverse way. How about that? Never would have dreamed. The impossible dream. Well, just goes to show you. John Lennon said Abbey Road. He was being interviewed about Abbey Road back in 1969 or 70, but I believe it was 69. He was saying, well, the album is technically like perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like he was talking about it. It was, in a technical sense, it was like really done right. It was like really well made, put together. And so that's why a lot of people like Abbey Road. It's like the Beatles' best album. That's what he said. In a technical sense, in a musicianship sense, dynamite. He said, but it lacked inspiration. In his mind, it had no heart. That's what he said. We just made an album because we had to, because of a contract obligation. That's what he was saying. And we just did it, and we did it to perfection, but we had was no spirit in it. Now, that might have not been picked up by the audience, you see, because you're detached from the record album being produced. You understand? You're detached from the creation of it. And a lot of times these people that make the products are much more hostile to the product than the audience because they're around it so much, they maybe get sick of it. And you have to go through listening again and again and again and retake it and you know what I'm saying? Okay, take 55, let's play it again. And then you just can't stand it. So that could have a lot to do with that. Now, with these two blended whiskeys, that's more of an algorithm. This is not an artist sitting there sculpting and saying, oh, throw it all away, burn it, I have to start over. It's nothing like that. Sazerac's just got but it's on a computer, I'm sure, but a sheet, you know, like here's the ingredients for 75 South. It's plugged in an industrial manner, like Nike shoes or Johnson & Johnson baby powder, and it's rolled out. That's the inspiration of it. The inspiration behind 75 South is to make money, and a lot of it. Okay, it's not an art. It's a science. An algorithm, okay? But it could have derived from an art. The artist envisions it. Now, I don't know what artist was envisioning Clubhouse. You say, oh, but he was a bohemian artist. He was doing some acid tests. He was a merry prankster, and that was his vision. That could have been. And then the science kicked in, and they made the algorithm, the recipe, and then this is what you got. Well, hey, it exists, but what can I say? It actually has a quaint appeal. It actually has a quaint appeal. You know, some things are so bad, they're good. It's like, I will go watch another episode with Pinky Tuscadero or Leather Tuscadero, depending. You know it's no good, but you watch it. And this is the kind of thing like that. It has almost like a quaint appeal. It's so bad, it's good. It's so wrong, it's right. You know what I mean? Cheers, says John Womack. Cheers to you. All right, so this was a very interesting festival of tasting. I found one of the more interesting taste challenges in a long while because it was very shocking. So 75 South, it's fine, but you're not going to get inspired. You won't be inspired. All right, you might be inspired to buy something better, but the best thing you can say about this whiskey is it's serviceable. And for $5.99 or $6.49 a bottle, that's it works to perfection. Clubhouse. Well, you could say many negative things. You could make a rant video for 2 hours on this. But I mean, what? Well, some people would watch it. But you could say many negative things about it, and they would probably all be a fair assessments. But it's a strange thing, and it almost starts to appeal to you after a while. And so I would say buy it and try it. You might buy it and try it, and you'll probably hate it. But then you might like it. You might like it. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to listen to Metal Machine music and start liking that. That's a little extreme. But you could buy this and maybe, like myself, form a perverse attachment to it. Okay, thanks for watching this video production. I'm off to do various things, none of which are particularly important. Thanks for watching this video production again, and have a great and wonderful day. We got a taste challenge coming up Saturday morning. Yeah, you guessed it. It's Barton American Blended Whiskey. Yeah. And then Sunday morning, right. You're right. Ancient Age Preferred. Ancient Age Preferred from 1936. I don't care what the company says. They say it's 1946. Wrong-o, 1936. And I got source material to back that up. Thanks.